Good afternoon. You are awesome. That's what my granddaughter would say. What an extraordinary group of people and a powerful force for building our community here in Manchester. Welcome to State of the Manchester School District 2023. This is a joint production of the Manchester School District, Manchester Proud, and the Greater Manchester Chamber. I want to start by thanking our Mayor, Craig, our Superintendent, Dr. Gillis, her team, our Board of School Committee members, and Board of Mayor and Alderman members who have joined us this afternoon. We certainly appreciate your being here. Also want to recognize our dear friend and good partner with her team at the Chamber, Heather McGrail, and my colleagues who I work with good fortune and great pleasure every day, Amy Courage, Manchester Proud's Director of Community Partnerships, and Lauren Beauvais, our Community Communications Director. Momentarily, I'm going to step aside and let Dr. Gillis take the podium to tell us about the goals and aspirations and progress taking place at the Manchester School District. But first, I want to take the time to thank the donors of Manchester Proud, those who have funded our work. For the past 5 years, our mission has stood strong. Manchester Proud builds community engagement and partnerships with the Manchester School District to champion student success and make exceptional public schools. And the operative words in that mission statement are pretty straightforward. They are engagement, partnerships, exceptional public schools for student success. Why is this work so compelling? Because 90% of the children in Manchester go to our public schools every school day, making our schools the most opportune place to address their needs and to create their opportunities. Willie Sutton, the notorious bank robber, I'm going to take this mic. Willie Sutton, the notorious bank robber in 1952, when he was arrested and was being carted away in cuffs by the FBI, was approached by a news person who ran up to him and said, Willie, why do you rob banks? And without hesitation, he said, because that's where the money is. It's so simple and so obvious. Our public schools are the place to make future because that's where the kids are. That's where the future is. Manchester Proud's mission, as I've said, is to build partnerships, to facilitate the systems change needed for our collective brightest future, to optimize Manchester's investment in our public schools to the maximum benefit of all of our students. Consider for just a minute the progress that we've made to date with your support. Our community-driven plan for the future of our schools has been skillfully adopted by Dr. Gillis, her team, our Board of School Committee, not as Manchester Proud's plan, but as the Manchester School District's strategic plan. Our district-wide network of school-to-community partnerships led by Amy Courage is working every day to optimize community engagement and investment in our schools. And their most recent initiative, Career Connected Learning Opportunities, a partnership with Manchester Proud, the district, and local businesses, is working to create student awareness of career pathways, partnerships with businesses to provide in-school programs, internships, mentorships, summer employment, and producing IRC-Con, and I suspect a number of you will say, what is IRC-Con? It is Industry Recognized Credentials Conference. It's an opportunity for high school kids from our 4 high schools to build credentials and, as importantly, build confidence as needed to gain a foothold in the workforce, to go out and productively seek employment here in our community. We've also produced the Manchester Proud Compass, an accessible community portal through which anyone can connect with resources for out-of-school programs, for health and mental health services, for career pathways, teacher and classroom resources, and more. And lastly, and we're in the throes of this right now, Celebrate Ed Week. Celebrate Ed Week began last Saturday with a Fisher Cats ball game. We gave away 750 tickets to kids and families so they could get there and enjoy the game. And throughout the game, our students and the district were celebrated on the field and off. Of course, we have today, and then coming up on Saturday is our big festival in Veterans Park. And I'm not going to ask much of you today, but I'm asking every one of you to say a little prayer tonight for a dry day on Saturday. It will make a big difference. I want you to pause for just a minute to think about the extraordinary work that every one of the 70-plus organizations and businesses on the screen does every day. Then think about the power of having them work together, their collective strength. These are the core partners of Manchester Proud's Compass and our School to Community Partnership Network. Every task we take, every minute, every dollar we spend is amplified by working together smartly. As I said, I'm here to say thank you. And thank you kind of feels like 2 small words in the middle of a big white screen. When we say thank you, what I want you to know is that in our hearts and minds, we are saying at full throttle with a loud voice and all sincerity how much we appreciate all that you do for us, our kids, and our community. Manchester Proud is blessed with more than 120 donors during the past 5 years. I sincerely wish every one of you could come up here, I could shake your hand, tell your story, and thank you personally for all that you do for us and our work. However, if we did that, we'd all miss the festival on Saturday. So we are going to have rolling credits where all of our donors will be recognized, beginning with our lead donors. And our lead donors are those who have given $20,000 or more during the past 5 years, and whose multiple gifts in many cases have been provided knowing that achieving the systems and cultural change that is the core of our work takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes the sustained support and hard work of many to get the job done. These are our lead donors. You are all so well behaved. There wasn't a peep in the house. Let's give them a round of applause. And rest assured, we greatly appreciate all of you, all of our valued donors and sponsors. And as your name enters the highlighted box, I hope each of you feels just a little shiver of pride for being a part of a team making a difference here in Manchester. Let's give another round of applause to all of these wonderful folks. I began my comments talking about our mission and the why of Manchester Proud, but I didn't really explain the why very well. The kind of grab you in the gut, make your eyes a little misty, fill your heart with joy, why we do this work. So all of you should have one of these. Most of you have refrained from looking into them. The little Manchester Proud logo goes on top. And I'd ask you all to lift it up and take a peek at the real why of Manchester Proud. We are driven by the 12,000 plus extraordinary kids who attend our public schools every day, and by their thousands and thousands of peers who will continue to do so for the decades to come. They thank you, and we thank you. You make us all Manchester Proud. Thank you. And I am going to turn things over to my friend, Heather McGrail, the President and CEO of the Greater Manchester Chamber.
Thank you, Barry. I think following Barry is pretty tough, but I wanted to first start by thanking all of his incredible dedication to Manchester Proud over the past 5 years. I can personally say that dedication goes down to even picking up supplies from our chamber just yesterday for Celebrate Ed. So he is an amazing force, and just wanted to recognize all of your efforts, Barry. And I think also it's really evident from what we just saw on the screen how big the community support is for education. And it's wonderful to see that not only in all of the business support and individual sponsorship you saw on the screen, but also in all of you showing up tonight on a beautiful afternoon and taking the time out to be here and be engaged in education. So I want to thank you all for attending as well. Thank all of the efforts of Manchester Proud, led by Barry and so many other individuals, as well as all of the Manchester School staff. So if we could just give a round of applause for all the efforts once again. And another note of gratitude to our sponsors of today's program. As many of you know, this is our second State of Manchester School District, and we're really happy to have this collaborative program. And it is made possible by M&T Bank as our lead sponsor and Gear Up Manchester. So thank you so much. Just a few notes before we get started with our official program, so you know what is ahead. In a few moments, we're going to have Dr. Jennifer Gillis, Superintendent of Schools, come up and do a presentation along with her team. That will be about 40 minutes. After that presentation concludes, we will go into our question and answer section. We do have pre-submitted questions, a pretty lengthy list, which is awesome. But if you do have a question while you're in the audience, please just raise your hand. Chamber staff is floating around, and we'll hand you an index card so you can write it down and float it back over to them to collect. I will say that we predict we probably won't get to all the questions today, but really, if you have a burning one, do submit it, and we'll see what we can do. Lastly, I just want to mention that at the end, we will have Mayor Joyce Craig come up to close out the program. So that's what you're looking for ahead, and without further delay, I'm calling up Dr. Jennifer Gillis.
So I'm a bit of a hand talker, so I'm going to spare you with the mic going every which way. So I am Jen Gillis. I am the incredibly proud superintendent of our district. For the next few minutes, I want to update you on both our district's achievements and some upcoming challenges, which, as I mentioned, we will approach with deliberate optimism. Hold on, they actually changed my speech on me. Rewind. Good afternoon. Many thanks to friends with Manchester Proud and their unwavering support of our school district. And thank you, all of you, for joining us this afternoon for State of the District. We have some great updates to share from last year, and we will outline our goals for the 2023-2024 school year. The state of our school district can be described with deliberate optimism. We achieved many of our goals from last year, and as we have described, but we have much to do and a robust list of priorities and goals in the coming months. I will get to all of that in a few minutes, but first I would like to introduce you to the Manchester School District leadership team, and each one of them is going to take about 2 minutes to walk you through their role and a couple points of interest as we begin this new and exciting school year. It is my pleasure to start with Mr. Forrest Ransdell, our Assistant Superintendent of Operations.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Forrest Ransdell, as Dr. Gillis said, Assistant Superintendent for Operations. My responsibilities include school facilities, safety, transportation, attendance, student conduct, and general district operational matters. I'm beginning my 34th year in public education, and the last 18 of those here in the Manchester School District. I have served as a teacher, assistant principal, principal of elementary, middle, and high school here in the district, district network director in human resources, and currently as assistant superintendent. In the last year, we have successfully refocused the capital improvement plan process, bringing long-term needs to completion, developed systems to monitor the cleanliness and preparation of our school buildings, and increase the collaboration between our district schools and our city departments and contracted vendors. We will implement these systems and provide regular updates to our communities and families as the year progresses. We've improved access control and monitoring at our schools in the area of safety. We will continue to address the physical needs of our buildings as well as student safety through regular use of our planned drills and alerts, as well as collaboration with the Manchester Police, Fire, and Health Department, who we value as very close partners. Attendance, as you know, is the key to success in school. The district has addressed truancy in a more aggressive way over the last several years, but in addition, this year the school district will focus on overall attendance through the use of a positive attendance campaign called Show Up Manchester. And this highlights the most important aspect of learning, being present. It all begins there. We've established baseline data for student conduct this past year. We know where we need to work and where we need to grow. We will continue the development of our behavioral intervention programs through the use of multi-tiered systems of support for all students, as well as restorative practices to reduce overall rates of student misconduct. And we're very happy to know that this has been recently supported by a $7.6 million grant in which the school district is one of 20 in the nation to receive. Effective internal communication systems will continue to play an important role in our service to the community. And we're working very hard on that to improve that every day and in every way we can. So I would like to welcome Dr. Gillis back to this podium to speak on behalf of the teaching and learning team.
So it's my pleasure to speak on behalf of Ms. Doherty, who pulled these comments together. The teaching and learning team continues to stay on message and move the needle to increase student learning and close the achievement gap in both reading and math. Based on our district assessment, iReady assessment, last year 1,910 students in grades K to 8 have met their stretch growth in reading. This means students have gone beyond their typical growth. This is an increase of 85 students from the 21-22 school year. In mathematics, 1,614 students in grades K to 8 met their stretch growth. This is an increase of 177 students from the 21-22 school year. For this coming school year, we are implementing focused professional development for our teachers on instructional strategies in both reading and mathematics. Classroom instruction will embed mathematic fluency in complex text to support all students. Using the multi-system of support, MTSS-A, to support our struggling learning to continue to close the achievement gap. Our target is to have an increase of 3% of stretch growth for both reading and math for the coming year, while moving our students toward grade level proficiency. As we look at high school graduation, the teaching and learning team is committed to the development and implement of a pathway system that increases career-centered learning opportunities. K-12 to increase the district graduation rate within the next 5 years by 3% each year. It is my pleasure to now introduce Ms. Tina Kim Philibot, our Chief Equity Officer.
I'm a little shorter than the rest of the crowd here, so thank you, Jen. So my name's Tina Kim Philibot. I use she, her pronouns. I joined the school district in 2021 as the Chief Equity Officer. My roots are grounded here in Manchester Public Schools, having attended Parker Varney, Parkside, and West High School. Yeah. Prior to this role, I have been an educator for nearly 2 decades, teaching English and dance. In addition, I've spent the last decade consulting with schools, organizations, and municipalities across the country, supporting strategic efforts to develop more equitable spaces where community members feel seen, heard, and valued. In New Hampshire, I facilitate affinity spaces for educators of color and founded the New Hampshire Educators for Equity. And I'm currently a doctoral candidate at Boston University. So over the past 2 years, the Office of Equity has made important strides. This office lifted up the work of bilingual family liaisons who support communication and connection through language and forming meaningful cultural bridges. When I started, 4 bilingual family liaisons were serving our multilingual families. And I am proud to share that we now support 7 bilingual liaisons and have been approved to onboard 10 more positions. Last year, we hired the Equity Inclusion Project Manager, who has supported the formation of the Racial Equity Advisory Council, made up of leaders from organizations whose missions are committed to racial equity. And I think some of our council members are here today. I thought I saw James McKim, president of the Manchester NAACP. There you are. Thank you, James. Really grateful to have you be a part of this. The Office of Equity has implemented high-impact programs, including a deep partnership with Manchester Community College to pilot an on-site early college program, which helps to remove the barrier of time and transportation, making college even more accessible for all learners. And President Brian Bicknell is also sitting here with us today, so thank you. This past year also brought the creation of the Equity Blueprint, which is informed by student, educator, and family voice. The blueprint highlights 10 priority elements we will focus on this year, including lifting youth and family voice, the implementation of the plan for culturally sustaining education training. This is for our educators and community, providing intentional logistic support to sustain these critical efforts. The Office of Equity continues to be committed to co-creating meaningful solutions grounded in deep community care, access to opportunity and information, and centering student and family needs. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce Wendy Perrin.
Good afternoon. I'm Wendy Perrin, Executive Director of English Learner Instruction. I returned to the district in July, but have previously served in this role for a period of 5 years between 2014 and 2019. And I'm really grateful, honored, humbled to be able to serve this community again. The district's English Learner program supports the unique needs of our culturally and linguistically diverse students. English learners are students who are native speakers of languages other than English, and for whom limited English proficiency could potentially impact a student's ability to access grade-level academic content. Manchester's 2,500 English learners are supported by a team of educators with specialized training who help to ensure that language does not become a barrier to student success. To further support students and families with limited English proficiency, the district has also a team of bilingual liaisons who are critical in facilitating the communication between home and school. Last year, the district established a multilingual advocacy committee. The committee helped to identify key programs for the EL program. 2 of those key priorities have been adopted as goals for the coming year. The first goal is to expand opportunities for training focused on supporting the success of multilingual learners. All Manchester educators will participate in at least 2 full days of training throughout the year to ensure they have the research-based information, resources, and strategies to teach, evaluate, and support the district's English learners. Another key priority, and one we are close to achieving, is the goal of opening a school district family welcome center. This center will act as a central registration site for newly enrolling students, ensuring a uniform intake process and warm welcome for all of our families. A centralized process will also help the district to meet its obligation to provide timely language assistance services through translation and interpretation to families with limited English proficiency. Finally, our team remains committed to a continuous cycle of improvement. So throughout the next year, our department will work to conduct a comprehensive program review, analyzing the continuum of services that we have available to ensure high quality and an equitable experience for the wide range of English learners we serve. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce my colleague, Selena Malora.
Good afternoon. My name is Selena Malora, and I am Manchester School District's new Chief Student Services and Wellness Officer. I'm a first-generation Filipino-American whose parents immigrated to the United States in 1965. My parents instilled in me and my siblings that family and education are of the utmost importance. Since I joined the district in July of this year, each day I've had the privilege to learn more about the city of Manchester, its incredible children, families, educators, and other community members. During the past year, the district filled critical roles in the Student Services Department to assist in meeting the primary responsibilities for special education programming, as well as social, emotional, and student wellness. The department oversees approximately 2,800 children ages 3 through 22 who receive specialized instruction and related services. The department also supports students who are impacted by homelessness or have been displaced due to court process. In July of this year, we embarked on a review of each student's individualized education program, or IEP, to inform our work consistent with the framework of the district's strategic plan. Moving forward, we seek to empower our children to be more independent, support their healthy development, and teach them how to be positive contributors to the community. We seek to empower our educators by improving our outreach and communication amongst colleagues, as well as supporting professional development to refine our special education activities that align with federal and state law, district policies, and best practices. Systemically, we seek to review the district's specialized programs, examine deliberation processes for specialized transportation and staffing requests, and to collaborate with the superintendent and chief financial officer to build a fiscally responsible budget that accurately reflects our students' needs. On behalf of Student Services, I would like to express our gratitude for being part of the vitally important work of educating Manchester's children. And now let me introduce Karen DeFrancis, the district's chief financial officer.
Thank you, Selena. Good afternoon. I'm Karen DeFrancis, the Chief Financial Officer. I've been with the district for 25 years and have about 10 years of prior experience in corporate level accounting roles. My responsibilities include fiscal management, payroll, and school food and nutrition. On the fiscal side, we are a $220 million organization with our current general fund budget at $192 million. In addition, we received $95 million in COVID-related grants a few years ago that are required to be spent by September of 2024. We also have 6 expendable trust funds, which are considered our reserves, and they are at a favorable level at $30 million. Looking at our goals from last year, a most significant accomplishment was combined with our IT, payroll, and finance departments. This goal was to upgrade our current financial and payroll software. We had not had an upgrade for over 10 years and needed to do this before adding any new modules to the software. The upgrade was a success, and I would like to thank the IT, finance, and payroll departments for their dedication. I would also like to thank our payroll supervisor, Lisa Foote, for her leadership role during this process, as most of the changes were related to payroll. Our goals for the current year include providing more culturally appropriate meals, increasing participation in breakfast, implementing the employee self-serve module in our payroll system, and continuing our work on increasing the level of awareness and working knowledge of our budget. We're also working with staff and community partners to increase and stabilize our free and reduced meal eligibility, as our free and reduced percentage impacts many of our funding sources, including our adequacy aid and Title I allocation. Thank you, and I would now like to introduce our Chief Information and Cybersecurity Officer, Steve Cross.
Thank you very much. As Karen said, I'm Stephen Cross, the Chief Information and Cybersecurity Officer for the county. For the district. You'll know why I made that slip in a second. I'm responsible for the district technology infrastructure, both wired and wireless, all computer-related systems for both staff and students, both network security and cybersecurity, and I oversee and manage the New Hampshire data privacy agreements for all software and systems in the district. I currently have a team of 9 personnel, which includes myself. I came to the district after relocating from North Carolina. I've been in the district for 5 years. I served 21 years in the Air Force, finished it off in North Carolina, had another 5 years in civil service, working for the Department of Defense, where I was both a financial auditor and then later a chief of network operations for Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. I finally got tired of the federal government and decided to go into local government. And I served as the Director of Technology for Wayne County, North Carolina for 8 years before coming to back to New Hampshire. This past year, we upgraded our finance system, as Karen stated, and issued more than 4,000 emergency connectivity Chromebooks. And if anybody doesn't know what those are a special program that we received additional money from the federal government to provide Chromebooks to families that couldn't afford to provide devices to all of their kids. So if you had a family of 3 and you could only afford 1 device, we would give them 2 more. So it's a great program. In addition to that, we received $803,000 in reimbursement for that program as well, because once we got the Chromebooks out and we had the auditors come in, we received reimbursement for those devices. And I want to thank Tammy Hanner and Kelly Jo Bell of Finance and IT for that. We also have 2 new positions that were repairing Chromebooks through ESSER funds, and they repaired over 1,825 devices just in the past year, which equates to about $450,000 if we had to buy those Chromebooks. So they did an amazing job. Our goals for the upcoming year include infrastructure upgrades, replacing our phone system, and implementing more security measures to help protect the district from cyber threats. And we all know there's a lot of those out there right now. And before I introduce my next colleague, I want to just say that I am very happy that my son-in-law has returned from South Korea after a 1.5 year stint there. This guy's Scott Reiner and my daughter Emily. He's got over 500 combat missions in Afghanistan, and he has the distinction of flying President Biden and his wife and Nancy Pelosi, I think, 3 times. So I'm just glad he's home safe. And now I'd like to introduce our Chief Legal and Policy Officer, Katie Cox Pelletier.
I always go after Steve, and sometimes he forgets to introduce me, so I appreciate the introduction today. Good afternoon. My name is Katie Cox Pelletier. I am the Chief Legal and Policy Officer for the district. I serve on the Superintendent's Education Leadership Team and provide legal advice to the superintendent, the administrators, and the board. I was a trial attorney for 10 years before taking on this role, and the 23-24 school year will be my 4th year with the district. In this role, I work to develop the board's policies that govern the operations of the district. Last night at the board's policy committee, I provided an overview of the anticipated upcoming policy work for the school year. Recently, the board reviewed all of its own policies regarding board governance, as well as the fiscal policies that govern the financial procedures for the district. This year, looking forward, we are going to work on developing and amending policies governing the functions of the administration, policies related to community interactions, and other policies related to technology and communications. I also work closely on matters pertaining to student conduct. The board's conduct committee recently amended their entire code of conduct manual, and I will be working with that committee this year to continue to review policies and procedures related to student conduct. Up for this year, I will also coordinate the district's labor relations negotiations, serve as the district's Title IX coordinator, and continue to provide legal advice to administrators and to the board. I'm excited for this school year, and I look forward to continuing to help the board and administration accomplish this important work. And next up, we have Andrew Toland, the superintendent's chief of staff.
Thank you, Katie. As she said, my name is Andrew Toland, and I am the Chief of Staff for the Manchester School District. As we are still working to fill my former role of Communications Director, I'm also kind of serving in that capacity as well. Relatedly, if you know an experienced communicator who might be interested in supporting stronger communications around our schools, please send them my way. In the last year, we undertook a couple of major communications projects in the district that I'd like to highlight. The first was a visual rebrand for the district that we completed in-house, and most notably included our new logo, which you can see up here. Our goal in developing the new logo was to really come up with something that gave it a sense of place and that was uniquely Manchester. We launched the rebrand late last year. And that was actually a really central part of another major project, the launch of all of our district websites. So the new websites were actually part of a fully integrated communications platform that pulls together all of the tools that we use for communications. That includes our websites, but everything we use to communicate with families, email, text, phone calls. And it puts it all under one roof. So the new websites are a really big step forward for us as a district because they include really built-in ADA compliance and built-in compliance and translation. So it makes the sites a lot more accessible for our families in the community. And it's a large step forward for us, and it was a lot of work. So I'm really proud of the schools and all of the work that was put into them. A couple of the major projects that we're embarking on this year include a new district publication that will pull together key information and data on the district and our schools in one place, kind of providing an easy reference point for business leaders or elected officials that they can have with them when they need to know information. When on the tails of the adoption of our websites, we're also going to be adopting a new two-way communication platform across the entire district. And just briefly what that is it's a tool that allows schools and families to communicate really directly with translation built into it so that they can actually interact a little bit easier. We don't have anything like that district-wide, so the goal for this year is to implement that alongside the work that we've already done. All of that really, those two projects are really built to encourage and support deeper engagement with our families and our community, and I'm really excited to get those rolled out this year. So that's what I have, and it's my pleasure to welcome our superintendent back to the podium.
So I do want to take just a quick moment and recognize the team that just came before you this evening. I am in awe of them today, listening to them talk in detail with data and goals that are specific and measurable. So I just want to do a quick round of applause for the district administration team. For the next few minutes, I want to update you on both our district's achievements and upcoming challenges, which, as I mentioned earlier, we are approaching with deliberate optimism. As I told our staff as we returned to start the new year, we hold within us the capacity to do great things when we work with our students. We can inspire young minds, help them find their aha moments, and open the world to them. The beautiful thing is, that's happening right now in our schools. We have plenty of good things happening, but perhaps one of my favorite examples comes in the form of one of our very own students named Mackenzie Verdner. She is a 2023 recipient of the Gear Up Student of the Year. Mackenzie, her cheering section, Mackenzie was selected from a national pool of 500,000 students. I keep stressing this every time I talk about it. Mackenzie won out of 500,000 students. She's deeply active within her school community and received this amazing recognition earlier this summer. For those of you who are not familiar, Gear Up is a program designed to boost the opportunities for under-resourced students in Manchester. We rely on partnerships like these to ensure that every one of our students has an opportunity to fulfill their own life's dreams. It's that lofty, and yet it's that simple. This work doesn't happen by accident. Last year, the district reoriented to align its operations with the community-built strategic plan for our schools. That plan drives our decisions and establishes clear goals, our ABCs. ABC stands for attendance, behavior, and core curriculum. This plan is our why and helps us remain laser-focused on both the tasks at hand and the accountability measures that will help us achieve these goals. If you recall, our strategic plan is broken down into 3 multi-pronged and multi-year priorities: grow our learners, grow our educators, and grow our systems. We made strong progress in our efforts to achieve the district goals laid out for us last September. Of the 17 goals we targeted, we have fully completed the work on more than a dozen of them and expect to wrap up the work on the balance this fall. Some examples of our accomplishments from last year include training our staff to align with the strategic plan and audit our information flow to ensure there are no gaps in our processes, update our technology and information systems, automate and align our day-to-day management platforms, making communication flow simpler and more efficient, enhance sharing of information with the community, including rebuilding our school district website, updating our course catalog and program of studies to reflect the changing educational landscape of what students need to learn, updating our graduation requirements to align with our district goals and strategic plan, hiring new staff and creating the multi-tiered systems of support, both A and B, to improve the interconnection of our teams. We have accomplished what I would like to describe as more than 50 points of pride, tasks we have achieved as part of the overarching goals we set forth last year that will strengthen the foundation for learning for years to come. In the classroom, we have rolled out vertically aligned curriculum and added professional development to further enhance the quality of our education. I'm pleased to share that this morning I had the opportunity to attend a planning session on our dual language immersion programming. The team is looking to get that up on its feet, and we are targeting for hopefully fall of 2024. It's important to note, when we pull this off, we will be the first district in the state of New Hampshire, first one to bring this type of programming to students. You've heard it already this evening. A major focus for this school year will be attendance. The district recently launched a citywide awareness effort called Show Up Manchester. We want to let all of our students and their families know that their attendance matters. We want you in school. This is one of the most single critical areas to ensure a connection between schooling and life success. We know, especially those of you in this room who have worked so hard and contributed much to your own businesses, your nonprofits, and this community. We know that the chances of lifelong achievement and success dramatically decline for those who do not complete high school. Nationally, we know that students who drop out of high school are more likely to live a life of periodic unemployment and have a higher rate of using government assistance. They tend to cycle in and out of the prison system more often than students who obtain a high school diploma, and their annual income is lower. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, a high school dropout will earn $200,000 less than a high school graduate over their lifetime, and almost $1 million less than a college graduate. Fortunately, we are seeing success in this area. Dropout rates are trending down, but we fully understand this is a critical priority. We all have a societal stake in this one issue because results speak for themselves. That old cliche that 90% of success is showing up, I would say that 90% might actually be conservative. If students are connected to our available programs, then we have a chance to engage them, inspire them to follow whatever path that looks like for each child. That gives us the chance to equip them and empower them to lead their best lives. Every school in our district will prioritize attendance through this program. Each school will have an attendance, behavior, and core academic plan to be enacted this fall. They are consistently aligned through the grades to help us better focus our resources and time on those who might otherwise drop through the cracks. Our goals all have accountability measures so that we have deadlines, reporting requirements, and rules for adjusting plans that may not have been developed or executed successfully. You might recall it as a process that includes back to the drawing board, or if you've been in one of our school classrooms, back to the whiteboard, or now our clear touch panels. It is not something to be ashamed of. Our students have a learning process for their education. So does our district. There are some data-driven tasks that take time and require adjustments and review. I am proud to ensure that these processes are incorporated into our goals and strategies. Nobody gets it right 100%. Nobody hits the center of the target with every shot. But those who learn from experience and can apply that learning to the next try will undoubtedly improve. That's our approach. And the key to our success is our team of dedicated professionals who share our vision. I am so proud of our staff. Our 28 2023 Teacher of the Year nominees are all-stars, an incredible team. Manchester even has one of the 4 finalists for Teacher of the Year. I am equally proud of every staff member who on a daily basis takes the time to go above and beyond to truly make the difference in the life of a student. Although our team might not always see the long-term results of their work, the work they do with our students, we operate with optimism, hoping we have helped each one of them realize their life's dreams. I am deeply proud to say we have a district team that from top to bottom is working together to support our students, our families, and our community. Externally, we are seeing a rise in the level of support from the entire district. The partnerships we are building with all of you and the financial support we are seeing today and for tomorrow will make an enormous difference in the opportunities for our students. For example, we have received several grants from both local and federal levels. I am very proud of these grants, for they are not only an endorsement of our strategic planning and our ability to execute those plans with meaning results. From congressional spending grants to a community schools planning grant, our work to braid funding is further positioning us to be competitive and improve results. This level of competitiveness was realized with the award of what is called a SAMHSA grant in the amount of $7.68 million for our work on multi-tiered systems of supports for behavior. This is a framework for enhancing the implementation of evidence-based practices to achieve important and specific outcomes for every student. This plan focuses on the efforts of our staff to be more effective. It's like a district-wide audit with direction on how to collect quality data, interpret results, and make improvements. It's where good management meets data and statistics. We are doing our homework. In your world, in the business world, I am aware that having a return on investment is a critical measure of whether to invest. This SAMHSA grant is evidence that the plans we are creating, the blueprint for a better district, has caught the idea of investors who believe in our students and all of us to reach the goals we have set forth to achieve. It's a really good feeling, and I hope you'll join in celebrating the construction of new plans to reach new and higher heights. I'm also applying a healthy dose of deliberate optimism to our ongoing conversation around the long-term facilities planning project. Imagine you've all heard something about that recently. In fact, just last month, the Board of School Committee voted overwhelmingly in support of Priority 1 activities, which represents a significant endorsement and a plan to reinvest in our school facilities. Our plan is built on a concept model of having 3 high schools, 4 middle schools, and 12 elementary schools. As you know, the average age of our city schools is around 75 years. However, the typical lifespan of a school building is around 50. We have accomplished a great deal in pushing the limits of our facilities, but I believe the time has come for our city to reinvest in our students to bring their learning environment in line with learning opportunities. The Board of School Committee recently voted 12-1 in support of our plan to complete Priority 1. With ongoing approvals, we will complete the transition of 5th graders to the middle school so that we represent 5-8 across all 4 of our middles. We intend to close Wilson Elementary School and build a new elementary school in the center of Manchester at a site we have not yet specifically determined. We will renovate all 4 of our middle schools and have a plan to use new and temporary classrooms to ensure our students are comfortably and appropriately accommodated during the work that will likely take more than a year to complete. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen will have the plan before them later this fall, and it is my hope that they too will endorse this plan, which essentially aligns and upgrades all of our elementary and middle schools in one efficient project. Following Priority 1, we have Priority 2, which focuses our attention on high schools and the balance of our elementary schools. We currently have 4 high schools, and the plan calls for 3. We're in the middle of reviewing the alternatives for a plan like this to ensure maximum opportunity with minimum disruption. We'll offer that proposal as well later this fall. For those of you who have been around a while and followed this discussion of to build or not to build, the conversation has been going on for quite some time. Our city leaders asked the district to come up with a workable plan for our students. I believe we are doing so, and we are working to put the finishing touches to keep this process moving forward. Our district is at a bit of a crossroads. As one school board member pointed out, we can't afford not to move forward with this plan. We have an opportunity to provide for our students a new environment that matches the technology, the rising expectations, in a changing world with new demands for our graduates. We have a unique opportunity right now to realize the hopes of so many in our community and to align our goals of our strategic plan with the facilities required to make those plans a reality. I hope our city leaders and community embrace this opportunity to move forward. In closing, on a personal note, I'd like to share that my motivation for doing what we do is our students, or sometimes I describe them as 12,000 plus small and growing humans. They are the lights on the horizon for me. Students like Mackenzie, living proof that we are making a difference so they can make a difference. On opening day, I had the opportunity to meet a second grader at McDonough Elementary School. In the hallway, I asked her, "How's your first day?" I got this, 50 thumbs up. How can you not smile and be reminded why we do what we do? We owe students who give me that signal our very best. I love what I do, and I'm deeply honored to be in this position at this time in our city's history. We face challenges, but we always will. Days can be chaotic. Of course, I'm sure your days can be equally crazed. But within the occasional chaos and the many, many moving parts of our district, we have direction, we have goals, we have a focus. Grow our learners, grow our educators, grow our systems. With your support, and by executing our plan, we can continue the course of improvement we are on right now. There will be tough days ahead, there will be setbacks, there will be unexpected moments, but I am deliberately optimistic about our future, the future for our students, our staff, and our community. With these goals and the power of all of us, we can continue to improve public education. We are stronger together. Thank you. Going that way. Do I need both of them? I think so. Good. So Heather has terrified me a little bit because I have to get into this chair in heels on a stage.
Testing. Okay, so once again, just a reminder in case you arrived late, if you do have a question in the audience, just raise your hand and the chamber team will come around and collect or provide your index card and try to usher those up to us. Good, I see some hands, that's great. So we're going to start with an elephant in the room.
Busing?
Yep, that's the one. We had a number of questions about busing, which of course is usually hard at the beginning of the year, but what is going on particularly this year?
Sure. So I just want to rewind, and I've had to very actively and deliberately do this to myself in the last little bit of time. Busing is a profound challenge for the start of this school year. We broke from using one core vendor to two for this school year, and there were some significant glitches in that rollout. I will say, as I say often, we are stronger when we all work together. We're stronger when we're using more brains than just one or two. The team came together quickly. I'm being informed that as recent as this afternoon, we have the final patch going into place. So busing services should be dramatically improving in the hours ahead. I talked about attendance. Attendance matters. I understand getting our kids to and from school, we need buses to do that in many circumstances. So busing is absolutely everyone's priority right now, making sure we have consistent and accountable buses on the road safely transporting our students. So good news is, good is coming very quickly, and busing should be in a much better position end of this week, beginning of next.
Okay, thank you for that. And as we're going on the trend of more timely questions, Wilson School, there were definitely a number of questions surrounding the status, which you alluded to a bit, but also kind of the timeline of the steps there and what's involved.
Sure. So I want to commend the Wilson staff. I went in to talk to them, and talking about closing a school is never an easy conversation. It's never something that you think you're walking in and people are going to give you an applause. I met with them, and I have to say they astounded me. Their response was, it's about time, our kids deserve better. We were sitting in their library, and their library is in the bottom floor of their building. They're looking around and they're saying, there's only so much you can do with this building. There's only so much we can try to pull forward. They were very quickly on board, talked about, the fifth grade teachers were like, so you're letting us go to middle school? And I said, it's part of the plan. It's going in priority 1. So are we going to have a nice new school? How's that going to look? And all of a sudden you saw this excitement, you saw this energy start to fill into the room. The Wilson team came to our board meeting when we presented the updates for Priority 1, and they actually advocated for what's on the horizon. They were very clear in saying it's time for our students, it's time for our school to have a new fresh start. So next steps will be bringing it to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen early October, and then we'll continue to follow through the process.
Okay, thank you for that. Since we have a number of business community members in the crowd, one of the things I wanted to ask is what can the business community specifically do as far as apprenticeships or different opportunities to help the outcomes of the students?
So we have the Manchester Proud Community Compass. I would say if you are interested in working with our students or our staff, if you're not already part of that compass, get yourself pulled into that, that platform. It's an amazing tool. It's something that we are pushing very solidly this year again. I think Barry spoke earlier about IRCCon. We had our first industry-recognized credential conference with students this past spring break. Anytime that we can partner with the community to fill the need is a win. It's winning for your business, but it's also winning for our students. The more real-life experiences we can give them, the more time we can give them to see what's possible for job, for career after school. It only makes what learning is in the classroom a lot more relevant. So we're constantly looking for how do we keep connecting to our business partners.
Yeah, and I think if you don't know where to start, just reach out to the Chamber because we'd be happy to connect you. There's a lot of great programs that are in the works, but so many more conversations I think needed to be had. Along the same lines of student outcomes, we had a number of questions that were related to improving student outcomes, whether in reading and math. Just how does the district plan to do that moving forward?
Sure. So I think it's important just to remember a couple things. One, we know that historically we did not have vertically aligned curriculum. So what does that mean? It means a student in any one of our elementary schools was learning math or reading in a unique way to that school that they were coming from. We then transitioned them to middle school. They're now learning again in a different way, and then we transition them again up to high school. So with all those transitions, without a vertically aligned plan, you saw students start to fall through the gaps. You would see those transition points in their data would start to slag. What we did is we pulled in that vertically aligned curriculum, we pushed in professional development to meet directly with those curriculums that we put into play, and we're also going back and looking at the data. You heard in a couple of the updates this evening, we're talking numbers. We're not just talking about let's do things, we're talking about concrete numbers. Our stretch growth is looking to move by 3%. We're looking to keep pushing that needle. I'll also say the team is remarkable in the fact that they aren't settling for just getting by. We are looking to keep pushing, and so if we meet that 3%, those goals have to be increased in real time. Talking numbers, talking in a concrete way about our goals and our numbers lets us know where we're starting from, lets us know if the approach we're doing is working, and if it's not, we need to shift. I said it in my remarks. Go back to that whiteboard, go back in. If something we thought was going to work isn't working, we got to fix it. You don't just keep doing more of the same and think you're going to get a better outcome. So we have to be reflective practitioners as we keep trying to move that needle forward. I'll also add, COVID was tough. And I do want to just take a quick moment and point out our students are working hard. Our staff are working hard, but it's very near impossible to say we're going to make all of these gains in quick time. We need to be a little bit patient. We need to celebrate the wins as the students are experiencing them, and we need to keep pushing them forward.
Yes, I can see that in my own children. Definitely socially inhibited after COVID. So I wanted to also touch on, again, this was kind of an aggregate question of how did our buildings get in this state of disrepair, and kind of a spin-off of that, how do we also protect against that happening again?
Sure. So I think it's important just to note a couple things. One, our district has historically been the lowest funded per pupil district in the state of New Hampshire. I'm also going to qualify that. We are the biggest district in the state of New Hampshire and the most diverse. So we had little funds coming in and a high demand going out. The focus was on what did we need to do for our students and our staff. Staffing accounts for over 73% of our budget. So a big chunk of all of our funding was going right to staffing so that we had qualified teachers in front of our students. We had the right supports in place. Unfortunately, that didn't leave a huge carve-out for building renewal year after year. I think about 3 years ago, we started to invest $3 million per year in our capital improvements account. So we've started to roll into a very different mechanism of how do we make sure our buildings are tended to. And as we're looking at the long-term facility plan, long-term is very much in our mindset. How do we move forward with a plan that will not only work for today, but it has sustainability into the future? So those long-term impacts, energy savings, how do we keep our buildings up to speed are very much in the plan. I will note that we have members of SMMA with us this afternoon, and they're the team that are working directly on our long-term facility planning.
Excellent. And I guess what would you say to those who think like, why not just rehab what we have?
So I think that's in the mix. You're seeing with our middle schools, they are doing renovations. We're doing additions and renovations in those plans that we've been proposing. So it's a balance. Some schools would be new, some schools would be renovations or additions. So it's all dependent on the building. But just remember, 50 years is a typical life expectancy for a school building, and many of ours are greater than 75. So it's time to really look at them and tend to the physical structures that we put our students in.
Okay, on a personal level, what excites you the most about the long-term facilities plan?
I think it's hope and optimism, and when our staff have been able to see different what-ifs or what's possible. We've been doing a lot of tours. I've been out with a number of our board members to take a look at different buildings. It just gives freshness. It gives a new hope and opportunity to our city, and when I think about our district compared to districts in surrounding communities, our kids deserve that. Our students deserve the very best that we can put before them, and I think facilities is just one of those markers. As a community, we value education. We value the buildings we're putting them in.
Okay, here's another one. It was basically about where is the accountability for maintenance? There's a little bit of confusion about who is accountable for deferred maintenance and how again, like kind of back to that question of how will we protect against this in the future? So
I'll tack it in one way. I think when we look at our Finance and Facilities Committee, we are doing monthly updates now. That's not something that had historically been happening. So we've rolled in different mechanisms to talk about what's going on in our schools, what makes sense. So when we're making a recommendation for a project or a Sorry.
No, I'm just motioning Amy if she has any cards for us.
I was just seeing hand signals going. So when we see a project coming forward, there's a level of scrutiny, but there's also a level of accountability. So having those monthly updates and making sure that we are doing exactly what it is we're saying we're doing, that's just not at all distracting, is incredibly important. And I think as we roll in our long-term facility plan, being really concrete with here's what the next couple of years could be looking like for maintenance of those facilities.
Okay, so time for some audience questions. We wanted to make sure to work this in. So what is the goal amount or ratio of students to nurses? Where are we at now?
So nurses are not necessarily a student to staff ratio. We have them at each one of our buildings. So I think our number is 32 school nurses as a district. But I want to qualify that number with we also have, I think it's 34 or 35 additional nurses who are one-to-one or two-to-one nurses that are outlined in students' individual education plans. So it's not just our school nurses who are deployed at all of our city schools, but also the nursing supports that are dedicated directly to students.
Okay. All right. How much will the $306 million school revamp cost taxpayers in the event the grants do not come through? And a per household cost? Do we have data on that?
We don't have a per household cost, and I think by the grant they might be referencing the additional adequacy money that we are looking to bring forward to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen early October. So we got word early September that we were awarded another $35 million from the state. Those monies we distributed, we brought to our school board. $20 million was going to go directly to our long-term facility plan, and then we called out the balance of the $15,000 for other activities of programs, staff considerations. So if that comes through, that goes in. I will say Karen DeFrancis and the long-term facility team and I are working on different models with bonding experts, with bond counsel, with financial input from the city side as well as the district side. So we're going to keep bringing different models forward of what these costs could look like, what are different infusions of monies. We know that the state has some aid that will be coming available. However, we can't apply for that just yet, so we don't know what that could do to the model. So we're gonna bring in a series of models so that there's some understanding of what these costs could look like and how we would fund them going forward.
Okay, do you feel you have enough staff of psychologists and guidance counselors to serve your student population?
So I think that's going to have to be an ongoing conversation at each of our schools. We need to look at the deployment of where our staff go. We need to look at the use for each of our schools. And we're doing some audits. We're looking at where do we see holes or gaps and how do we best support student services. I'll also note we did ramp up some of those supports in the previous years. And as we're looking at ESSER funding expiring in September of 2024, we're looking at how do we get those positions that we've rolled in that had a high impact on student outcomes rolled into the general fund budget.
You are just whipping through these. It's amazing. I love that we can get to so many. It's awesome. Regarding a focus on increasing attendance, what does research show are leading factors that contribute to inattendance of school? And a follow-up, are there measures being considered to mitigate those factors specifically?
So I'm going to go back to the team, and I'll say our team does not just consist of staff from inside the district. There's community partners in that team as well. And so what we're looking at is not just as a student, when you see a student having issues with getting back and forth to school, but a family structure as a whole. So rather than saying to a family, they've got an elementary student, a middle student, and a high school student, let's bring that family structure in, and let's talk about what the barriers might be for that family. And then how do we start to troubleshoot through to meet the needs of that family as a whole, not making that crew go into 3 different meetings and have 3 different plans that might not be aligned. We're really looking at systemizing and making sure we're meeting the needs of the family structure.
Okay, the quality of our schools is defined by the incredible talent of teachers and staff. We all know this. With the cost of housing so high, is the school district at a disadvantage? And what can we do to attract and retain teachers, in your opinion?
So that's a great question, and it's actually part of the long-term facility planning study. So we do know housing is at times a barrier for some new staff coming into our district. So we're exploring different options or opportunities that we might have for workforce housing as a part of our bigger project. I'll also say looking in, and as we go through negotiations and as we look at how do we value our employees within the district, its culture and climate, we're also looking at how do we keep retention within our workforce. And so it's a whole, it's not just one of these small parts. We need to look at making sure once we get staff in, professional development's going in, we've got the reinforcement of work well done or opportunities for improvement. So we're really looking holistically at how do we get more and more people into our district, and then how do we keep them high performing once they're here.
Seems like the holistic approach is a common theme,
we've moved away from, we're moving away from silos into systems. That was a big focus area for last year, and I will say I've learned a great deal of how siloed we had become. It got a little bit worse during the pandemic, but there's also seeming to be a real willingness to come out of the silos and troubleshoot together. And I said it earlier, more brains makes it a lot easier than just one trying to figure out a problem.
Yeah, and I think a lot of you can share, and there's a great spirit of collaboration in Greater Manchester right now. We see it definitely at the Chamber with the business community, so it's awesome to see. And that's all the time we have for Q&A. We're right on target for, there she is, for Manchester's Mayor, Joyce Craig, to come up and give some remarks and close out our program. So, Joyce.
So good afternoon. It's such a pleasure to be here with all of you to talk about the state of our schools and the importance of building strong partnerships within our community. First, I'd like to start by thanking Heather and everyone at the Chamber and all of the Chamber members who are here and throughout Manchester for all of your support for the district and our students. And Dr. Gillis, thank you for all that you've done and continue to do to move our district forward. I know it hasn't been easy. There always seems to be multiple major initiatives coming at us, addressing the COVID learning loss, bringing the school nurses into the district to better serve our students, moving forward with major renovations to our school buildings to enhance the learning environment for our students, and so much more, all while running the largest school district in the state with a smile. What's important to note that our focus is always on improving student achievement. So thank you again, Dr. Gillis, your leadership team, the Board of School Committee, and all of our dedicated district employees in this room and throughout our community. Our teachers, paraprofessionals, custodians, bus drivers, crossing guards, coaches, guidance counselors, administrators, food service folks, and every person who contributes to our schools. You are some of our community's greatest assets, and we are so grateful for all that you do. So as you heard from Dr. Gillis, we've been able to achieve great progress for Manchester's public schools because of our whole community's shared vision to strengthen our schools and our resolve to support our students and increase student achievement. And key to this is our collaboration with Manchester Proud. Manchester Proud's mission to support our students has had a tremendous impact on our community, and I'll always be grateful for their work. I want to thank Barry, Amy, and Lauren, and everyone involved in Manchester Proud for bringing us together today and for all that you've done for our students and their families, our educators and staff, and our entire community. This citywide movement is a true testament of what hard work, dedication, and collaboration is all about. As many of you know, my family includes 4 generations of Manchester Public School graduates. I graduated from Memorial, while everyone else graduated from Central, which made interesting conversations at the dinner table on Thanksgiving. And my daughter Sarah is now in her 2nd year teaching English at Central High School. When I think back about my time in school, I have such fond memories of teachers like Mr. Samara and coaches like Maureen Hamill and Mr. Perrick, who I now have the pleasure of serving on the Board of School Committee with, and my yearbook advisor, Mr. Adamakis. And I'm sure all of you have fond memories of educators who helped you along the way too. Our educators fill roles that are so much more than a job description. They work tirelessly, often with limited resources, to ensure that our students are not only learning, but are fed, clothed, cared for, and loved. And consistently, Manchester teachers are recognized for their educational excellence. This year, 28 Manchester teachers were nominated for New Hampshire's Teacher of the Year, and 5 were included in the semifinalists. This is the most teachers from a single community ever recognized. And now, as you heard earlier, Greg Parker, a grade 9 through 12 interventionist teacher at Memorial, is a finalist for Teacher of the Year. I want to thank Greg and all of our educators for your hard work and commitment to our students. The success of our public schools is critical to the success of our community. In one way or another, we all feel the successes of our public schools, and we are all impacted by the challenges that they face. Their strengths are our strength. Their challenges are our challenges. And their future is our future. I first got involved in public service back in 2008 because, like many of you here today, I wanted to make sure that every child in Manchester had access to a quality public education. I believed we could be doing better for our students, and I'm now pleased to say we are. When I became mayor in 2018, we got to work right away to attract and retain the best teachers. We raised wages to be competitive with surrounding districts, and as a result, reduced the number of open teaching positions to the lowest it's been in recent years. We also raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour for all of our district staff, including our valued paraprofessionals. And we're now offering more professional development opportunities than ever before. We're following the district's strategic plan, and we're making real progress within our school district. We've implemented a district-wide curriculum for reading, math, science, and social studies. We've broken down barriers to increase access for our students to take higher-level courses. We've reduced class sizes across all grades, fostered more access to support services and tutoring for students, and increased access to technology. And we're investing in our school buildings, ensuring that our students and our educators are in classrooms that will enhance learning. Our work is setting the foundation for generations to come. We focused on increasing student achievement and approaching education with the understanding that for every student to learn, we need to support them inside the classroom and outside the classroom. We know that students can't learn if they're hungry. So this year, as costs for families continue to rise nationwide, we promised our families that school lunch prices wouldn't go up. Our school district also expanded wraparound mental health services to support students and create a safe, productive environment for them to learn. And we increased school sports and extracurricular activities. And as Dr. Gillis said, we are so excited that Bakersville School will be the first school in the state to offer dual language, Spanish and English learning next year to our students. We're also increasing opportunities for our graduates. 2 years ago, I announced the Manchester Promise, a program in partnership with Southern New Hampshire University, Duet, and Manchester Community College, which allows Manchester High School graduates with financial barriers to attend college to enroll debt-free. The program's first cohort included 25 students. 22 of these students are first-generation college students, and 7 are first-generation Americans. There's a 96% rate from the first year to the second year, which is substantially higher than SNU's first-year rate, especially for first-generation students. And I do want to note that one student that left SNU is now enrolled at Manchester Community College, so to me, we have a 100% success rate, which is something to brag about. And all students enrolled in this program have stayed right here in our city and are currently working in the greater Manchester area. So in total, there are now 47 graduates of Manchester Public Schools enrolled in this program. The second cohort has 22 students enrolled with Duet, and as I mentioned, 1 student with Manchester Community College. The Duet cohort is on average 31% complete with their program and on track to complete their degree in less than 3 years. And if their success stories aren't exciting enough, the future of this program is just as bright. There's an opportunity for 27 more learners to join. These are the kinds of partnerships and programs that are making an immediate and lasting impact in our community. When praising the progress of our public schools, that our public schools have made, we do so while reflecting on everything we've had to overcome and the resilience of our students and educators. From a global pandemic to the impacts of downshifting from the state, we've faced significant challenges. But we are in a stronger place because we work together as a community to define goals for our district and make our schools stronger. Manchester's public schools are the heart of our community. Our public school graduates go on to attend colleges, with many going to Ivy League schools. They join building trade apprenticeship programs. They join the military. They enter the workforce. Some even go into public service. Simply put, Our graduates do whatever they set their mind to because Manchester's public schools and our educators helped them to find their voice and gave them the confidence to achieve what they believe. As a graduate of Green Acres, Southside, and Memorial, I can attest to this. With the end of my term as mayor coming up in a few months, I've been thinking a lot about the wonderful friendships that I've made and the experiences that I've had. And one of my favorites is prior to every school board meeting, students come into my office at City Hall for a quick visit. I give them the opportunity to sit in my chair and see what it feels like to be mayor, so they can see themselves in this position someday. We talk about how their day was and what they want in our community. These young people motivate me to work harder and to do more, and they always will. Their opportunities are limitless, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. So there's a lot of hope and a lot more work to be done. And I'm confident under the leadership of Dr. Gillis and her team and our educators that we're building a future for the Manchester School District that works to ensure all students in our public schools have equal access to everything from academic courses to extracurricular activities, and ensuring we're reflecting the needs of our community in all that we do. Thank you.
Okay, so I just want to thank you all for attending. I have a little height problem here. But we are here for another half an hour. Actually, we're a little bit over. We're here till 6 o'clock for open networking, so please mingle and enjoy yourselves, and thank you so much for coming.